This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so guys, today we are sitting on the fourth day of this training, and today's agenda is that in the earlier session we tried to create an REST API, which we will try to call this today, and then apart from this, we will see how we will call external REST API, then how we will use the SOAP adapter, how we will expose SOAP APIs, then we will jump to this FTP adapter if time will allow. We will see the write operation, the read operation, list operation, and the download file operation of the FTP adapter. Okay, so let me just go to the OIC screen, and then probably we will start from there itself. Guys, let me know if you can see the integration screen. I hope everyone can see them. Okay, so guys, can you hear me?
Yes, Ankur, I can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And guys, before I start, do you have any questions from the previous session? Anyone, any question, please?
Ankur, in last session, we have created one REST service. So we have discussed that while creating an integration, we have a one invoke and a target in every integration. These are the mandatory steps. So suppose when we are creating a web service, means hello world application. So the starting point we are giving, and what will be the target?
So
It's
here,
a web
okay.
service.
So basically,
yes.
So basically, ideally, absolutely correct. Ideally, this should not be the case that we are creating an API and we are not fetching data from anywhere, right? So, in an ideal scenario or in the live scenario, we should have a API or some integration which will call the source system as well as the target system, right? So this example just to showcase how we can expose the REST API only, right? That's the reason I'm not calling the source or destination application here.
Okay, so means when the website we are calling a web service and it's returning only its value, in that case there is no target.
I will show you that one in my next step.
Okay.
Okay, so guys, in my previous session, the earlier session, we created this hello API, right? And let's try to test it. This is the REST API, right? So in order to get the endpoint of this API, what you can do, you just click on this particular how to run icon, and then you can just click on this particular metadata. So once you click on this metadata, you will see the endpoint URL of the integration. So what you can do, you can use the Postman tool. The Postman tool is nothing, it is a client tool of the Chrome extension, which help us to test the REST APIs, right? So what we can do, we can open the Postman tool, and then we can try to test the REST API. And every API which we expose in an integration cloud are authenticated by the basic authentication, right? Now, alternate way is that if you don't want to use the Postman tool and you want to test the APIs from here directly, what you can do, you can just click on this, and then you have to click on the test button. So basically, this option is only visible once a feature flag is enabled on your integration port. So the feature flag name is, so if you click on this and you see the about, right, and you click the enabled feature, so yeah, so this is the feature flag which should be enabled on your integration instance. Then only you will be able to test the APIs from integration canvas directly, right? So I'll show you how we can do this. Just click on this and then click on the test button, right? Once you click on a test button, this page will come up where you see all the request parameter which you need to add, and then headers if you have, then body, don't have any body, and then curl command, right? Just click on this URI parameter, and here just enter a name like cal, and here you see the name has been added as soon as you start entering, and then just click on the test button. Once you test it, here you see the response has been came from this API, and this is the instance which got generated. So if you click on this particular instance ID, right, then it will take you to the monitoring tab of the integration where you see the instance should be generated over there. So you see now you are on the monitoring dashboard and the instance has been opened directly. So let me just close this and then, but I will show you how we have opened this actually. So just go to this and then go to the monitoring tab and then integration, and then you can go to the integration. So this integration will show all the integrations, and corresponding to the integration it will show you how many messages has been received, how many got processed, how many got success. You can click on the count and it will open all the instances of the integration. This is the instance which I tried to call earlier, and this is the instance which we just created. And here you see what time the request got received. The request received at 1 minute ago. It completed 1 minute ago, and the total time took by this API is 445 milliseconds, right? And here you see the name, the cal was the primary identifier which we enabled. Just click on this name, and once you click on that instance, it will take you to the instance page, and it will show all the activities which got executed. Let it be open, and here you see all the activities are the in green, which means all the activities which we have created has been executed successfully. Right now you wanted to see the logs, whatever data we have received. What you can see, just click on this action menu and you click on the view activity stream. Once you click on this activity stream will be opened, and just click on the message, and here it will show the payload which you send. Here you see I send a query parameter name, and we send the cal. You can download this, you can copy this, you can expand this, you can close this. And then same way you can say data mapping completed for message to, and then message. Here you see this was the mapping which we have done, right? And the greeting we have mapped the name, and name value is the cal. Same ways you can download this, just close this, and same ways you can see the message, and you see here we send the cal. So this activity stream is the latest activity stream, and it will only come if one of the feature flag is enabled on your OIC port. If it will not be enabled and you click on this activity stream, a pop-up will come up over there. From there you need to expand it, and then you can see all the payload, and from there you will not be able to download. You will be able to download, and you will be able to see the activity stream in such a way if a feature flag is enabled. Okay, and now here you see we have two instances, one with two instances of a integration. One is taking the cal and second is Amit. If you wanted to search the particular instance based on this Amit, what you can do, just click on this tracking, go into the tracking, and here you search Amit. Only the particular instance will come there, and you see the primary or secondary identifier value contains Amit. The particular instance code has been patched. So this is how you can track your instances based on the identifier which you give in your integrations. Any question, please?
Ankur, can you please tell again what is the use of feature flag?
Okay, so basically the feature flag is one, what we can say, let's suppose they have one specific feature they are trying to create over the OIC instance, right? Which means there are some features which they enable, or they what you say, they create some features on a OIC or integrations, right? So what they do, they don't release it for everyone to use it. So what they do, they have particular life cycle of feature flag, like the general availability. Let me just see this. Feature flag. sorry.
Means it's a kind of, suppose if we want to enable the logging or debugging, then we have to enable it.
No.
Okay.
So basically, sometimes what happens, Oracle release some features, on an integration cloud, right? And they don't want to enable this feature for each and every customer, right? So every specific feature goes to a particular life cycle, right? And this life cycle is called the feature flagging. And here you see how it works. Basically, first they have the internal only of this particular uh, feature, then they have featured control, then they have feature control general availability, and post that GA, right? Once a feature flag enter do this internal only, right? No customer can use it, only the Oracle guy can use it. If it comes under the featured control, right, here you see once a feature enters the feature control state, then a customer may request that flag be enabled for one or more of the OIC instances, which means once a specific feature reaches to this feature control state, right, then what you can do, you can create a service request with Oracle and you can ask them to enable this feature flag onto your OIC port so that you can try to use the new features, right? Once a specific feature reaches to this feature control GA, right, so once we are happy with the stability of a feature, we will enable it for all instances. This again does not require a code change, which means once you're happy with the stability of a feature, we enable it for all the instances, which looks like that, after this any what do you say, any new feature reaches to this particular stage, they will release this feature flag for all the instances which you have, right? And once it is reaches to general availability, then this new feature will not be controlled by the feature and every customer can use it, this feature. So automatically the customer will get this new feature. I hope you understood, Amit.
Yeah, yeah. The instance which I have, yeah, as you showed, the activity stream looks like it comes as a pop-up, and then I don't have that the fancy looking activity stream
Correct.
which you have showed. Is it? You said it's a feature flag to be enabled for that, right? So do you know,
Absolutely correct.
can you just go browse around and see which one is that?
Activity. You see, OIC, ICS console monitoring tracking improved activity stream, right? Improved activity stream. So this is the feature flag which you need to enable so that you can get this fancy activity stream on your OIC instance.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Amit, that looks okay for you as well?
Yes, Ankur.
Okay. Now go back. Any question on this REST API, please?
Ankur, Shubham here.
Hi, Shubham.
Yeah, Shankar. So, like, Ankur, since we are developing a REST API in OIC, okay, so like, we are doing all the things. So, similarly, when we had to call an external API, okay, so we need to specify the URI and configuration or like we used to do in OSB.
Shubham, allow me time. In the next step, we are going to use the external API only.
Okay.
Okay.
No issue.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, in a first integration, what we did, we tried to expose one REST API into my integration cloud. There are scenarios where you need to call the external API. External API can be of any vendor, can be of any application, right? There are a lot of REST APIs provided by the Oracle of their SaaS applications. Like the ERP is having a lot of REST API which you can consume in an integration cloud to fetch or to push the data. Same ways, Oracle integration cloud have their own REST APIs which you can use. right? So let's suppose you have one REST API provided by the vendor, which you wanted to call into the OIC in order to get some data. So for the time being, what I will do, so in a on a Google, you will find one API, right? The REST API over the Google, over the internet, which you can try to consume, and everyone you can use this JSON placeholder dot typicode.com/user/1. So this API gives a result of a particular user. Whenever you will try to pass a unique ID, you will get the different record, right? So you also can try to consume the same API, for your practice purpose. So this is the fake API, you can say. Now let's try to consume this particular API in an integration cloud. How we can consume this? Since this is the external API, I have to create a REST connection into my integration cloud. How we can do this? Just go to the integration and click on a connections tab. So since this is the REST API, we will use the REST connection over there. Just click on this REST, create, and search from this REST over here. Click and then select. Now here you need to give the name. You can say REST external v2. Okay. Now you let me know, guys, since I wanted to invoke an external REST API, which type of role should I select over here? Any guess?
Invoke.
Anyone?
Trigger and invoke.
Okay. Yeah. So we can use trigger and invoke, or we can use invoke only. It is because we wanted to call any external REST API. So I will select role as the invoke. Now click on a create button. Once you click on a create button, here you see there are a lot of options available which you need to enter. But when you select trigger, you don't need to provide anything. It is because the REST API which you exposes into the integration cloud will take the host name of the integration cloud itself. Okay, that's the reason it doesn't allow me to enter anything. But yes, when you select role as an invoke, it will ask you to enter properties. Okay, so here you see there are two things. One is the connection properties and the second is security, right? Under that connection properties, you have to provide the connection URL, the TLS version, and multiple things. So here you see the connection type. Connection type based upon on a multiple things like the REST API base URL, the metadata catalog, the Swagger, and RAML. So basically, since this is the REST API, we are going to use the REST API base URL. Here you see the term REST API base URL. Just select this and you can select the TLS version. TLS version might be 1.1 or the 1.2, right? Now here you need to enter the base URL of the connection, and the base URL will be
Ankur, one question. How will find out the version?
the TLS version.
Yes.
So basically, this is the TLS version will be provided by the vendor itself. Let's suppose you are trying to call the API of the SAS, right, or the Fusion. So the Fusion guy will let you know the API is running on the TLS version 1.1 or 1.2. Okay. Now I will take the base URL, and base URL will be the host name and then port. So I will take this host name and then copy this, and then I will give the connection URL over there. So here you please, whenever you are giving the base URL, don't give the backslash at the end. Okay. After that, you see enabled.
Could you please explain for connection type again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So basically, I hope you have heard multiple things like the REST API, the metadata catalog URL, the Swagger, or the RAML, right? So REST API base URL, here you see this is the REST API, right? So REST API is the API which have only single resource, which means this API will give the result of the users only, right? Not the company or not the department. That's the reason it is called the REST API base URL. But REST API means that if any API gives the result of a specific resource, which means like the user as a resource, the department as a resource, or the the education as a resource, anything, right? You have multiple things in your organization which you can fetch. So every REST API which gives a unique resource called as a REST API. But here you see the metadata catalog URL. The metadata catalog URL may contain lots of APIs. If you have a specific URL which can have lots of REST APIs, then here you need to enter the metadata catalog URL. Swagger is a different and RAML is different, which I'm not aware of much. But Swagger is just like, I will show you in my when I will complete this. So Swagger is nothing, it is just a definition of my REST API. I will show you at the end of this integration.
Okay.
Understood?
Yeah.
Now here you notice whenever we are giving the connection URL, right, we have to give the base URL of the API only, and the base URI will comprise the HTTP or HTTPS, then host name. If there is a port, you need to give the port as well, right? Enable two-way SSL for outbound connection. It is optional. If the API can only be called on a two-way SSL, then you have to enable it, and you need to upload the certificates under the certificate section, and from here you need to select the yes. But since the API is not two-way SSL, that's the reason I will make it blank. Identity key store alias name, again it is the optional. So name of the alias to use for establishing identity during two-way SSL communication, right? So I'm keeping it as a blank, so it is not required. Now just go back. This is the main important section and called security section. So sometimes I hope guys you have heard the OAuth. I hope you have heard the basic authentication. I hope you have heard the API key based authentication. Every API, the REST API should be authenticated by different policies. Some vendor provide their API which are basic authentication enabled. If the API, if basic authentication enabled, it will ask you to enter username and the password only. But if any API is auth client credential, right? Here you see the whole thing will get changed. Here you need to give the access token URI, the client ID, client secret, scope, and the OAuth. If you use different policy, auth, resource, owner, password credential, you need to provide different details. Same way, if you have this auth, authorization code credential, you have to provide different details. It totally depends on the vendor of the API, which type of policy they have applied on their API in order to secure it, right? And if any API is secured by the OAuth 2 lagged or 3 lagged, accordingly you have to select this and you have to pass the credentials over there. Now this API is not secured by any policy, so I will select the no security policy. If I select this no security policy, then it will not ask any credentials, right? So the next part is the agent group. Agent group actually will allow you, okay, so if any API, right, if any API which you are trying to call is accessible within a company's network or the behind the firewall, right, and you want to call it, then you have to take the help of agent group. Agent group is nothing, it is the identifier of the agent which will allow you to establish a communication between OIC and the on-premise application. Since this API is reachable over the internet, hence I don't need to select any agent group. But yes, in our further sessions, I will show you when to use agent group as well and how to use it. So now the configuration is completed. Here you see, just save this. Now you see the connection has been saved and it has been reached to 85%. Whenever any connection reaches to the 85%, which means you have given all the required parameters. Now just click on a test. Now you see the connection has been tested successfully, which means this connection is ready to use now. Now just save back and now close it. Now what we will do, we will try to call this API, right? And then we will get these details. So here you see this API gives the multiple thing like the ID, name, username, email, address, and then phone number, website name, catch phrase. So here what I will do, I will create my own API and then we'll call this API, and from this API I will only extract name, username, email, and then phone number and then website. So let's just try to create an API. So now just click on a create button. Oh, I'm on this connection page only. Click on the integrations and here click on a create button. Select this app driven orchestration pattern and then select. And here I will say call external REST and then click on a create button. Now since I wanted to create an API, so I will select my REST connection. Okay, on a trigger point because I wanted to expose the API also. So here I will say call get user details and then select the next button. And here you can give the operation name as get users. Here you can give any relative resource URI, like I'll say my user.
Ankur, I have one question. The API which you, the REST API which you created earlier, can't we use at that means trigger point?
So in that API, you have not called any REST connection, but yes, you can modify this and you can use it. Okay. Now here I will add a review parameter and I need a response also. So I will select this, configure this endpoint to receive the response. And then click on the next button. So here I will say I need a user ID. And then that I will be, you can say, what happened? Integer, okay. And then next. Here you need to select the response payload in which you need a response. I will say I will take a response in JSON sample and then click on a inline button. So here what I'm saying is I will take user name. I will say email address. I will take name. I will take phone number. I will take website also. Okay, and then click on a OK button.
Ankur,
Now
is there
just next.
any different mechanism to handle a nested JSON values?
Nested JSON as well.
JSON values, like can you please show me the output, the REST API output? No, not this one. Yeah, this one. The address here is showing the child values.
Correct.
So means is there is any different data type for this?
So this, yeah. So basically, this address is having the child child object, and the child object is street, suite, city, zip code, and then again geo is again having the lat and long. So if you wanted to extract this zip code, so I will show you how you can do this, right? So let's just take this zip code as well, right? I'll say okay. So this is my custom response, right? That's the reason I can give anything over here. Then next, and then done. Now here, what I will do, I will invoke my REST connection which I have created, and this is the training B2 external, right? And then just drop it over here. Now I'll say call user API, and here notice one thing, like here I need to give the relative resource URI, and this relative resource URI should be the matching URI which is of your action REST API. Just select this and then give this to there. And here you see this 3 is the parameter, and this is a dynamic parameter which you give, and this is called the template parameter, right? Sorry. Right. So now in order to create a template parameter in a OIC, so what you can do, you just after slash, you just put a curly braces, and here you can say ID, right? This ID will become a template parameter, and you can pass the dynamic value into this ID parameter, right? So you see here, or when you try to create a template parameter, the first checkbox will be selected automatically. And now this API send a response in this particular format. So I will select this configure this endpoint to receive the response, and then next. So basically this wizard totally depends on the external API. So you have to give the same resource URI which is of your external API. The response you have to give in the same structure. So here you see this become the template parameter automatically ID, and you can say string, or you can say integer also, and then next. And here, since this API sends a response in a JSON, just like the JSON, and then inline, and then just take the whole thing and then paste it over here, and then okay, and next, and then done. Here you see in this API, in this wizard, we have configured a template parameter, and this is the request parameter. Since it's a request, so I need to update this and mapper, and then click on edit. Here notice one thing. Okay, just open this template parameter. You see we have given the ID, and you see the query parameter which we have given in the first wizard as a user ID. So you can map user ID to ID. So what will happen, at the runtime, the user ID which you will pass in the query parameter will be given to this ID, will be assigned to this ID automatically. Now just validate it, and then, and here you notice there's connectivity properties also there, right? So here you can give the REST API base URL dynamic also, and then relative URI also, but this is not relevant, and then close it. Just keep saving your integration. So at the end you need a response also, right? So if you need a response, you have to give a mapper over there. So now you just open this actions tab and you just put the mapper over there so that I can configure the response. So left hand side you will notice the call user API, right? And here you see all the elements which you will see over there: the ID, the name, username, email, and under address. You seeing this street, suite, city, zip code, and under this geo you will find let and long. So here you see the username, email address, name, phone number, website, zip code, which you have given in your first configuration wizard. So let's just try to map. I will say name to name, username to username, email to email address, and then phone to phone number, website to website, and you need a zip code also. Zip code is here under the address. This is how you can map and then validate and then close. That's it. Now just save your integration. Now enable the tracking parameter. And here you see you are sending the user ID, just and then save it. Then save your integration and then close. You can activate your integration. You can say enable tracing and then include payload. What is it? Enable ancestor recording. I hope this is a new feature. I'm not aware about it, but let me just check it later.
Yeah, Ankur, I think they enabled it last week. I saw that also in my workplace that it's coming as new now. So we need to understand what it is.
Yeah, I will look at it later and will let you know what is that enable ancestor recording actually. So earlier we have not seen this option here.
Yeah, it's coming in last 1 week. So.
Oh, okay. So have you seen this earlier as well from the last week?
Because I told you, right, I work on OIC. So in our office instances, we started seeing this, but
Okay.
starting last week. So it was not there before. So it just last 1 week, all our instances are showing up this, but we don't know how to use it.
When ancestor recording is enabled, payloads will be captured and integration instances will be recorded where thing can be played later, and maximum 5 recording will be maintained for an integration. Let's see how it will work. Okay.
And this Oracle Asseter works only on the app to app. If you have a scheduled one, you cannot.
Okay. Okay, might be. Okay, now this got activated, right? Now just try to test it. Now this time I will try to test this integration from the Postman so that you can familiar with the Postman as well. Now just take this and then click on this. Just take this thing and now open the Postman. Okay, so in meanwhile I will show you. Here you see the endpoint, here you see the Swagger URL, and below here you see the resource my user, you see the query parameter, the user ID, and here you see the response media type application JSON, the response sample. These are the things which will be visible over here, which we have given in my REST API wizard, the first wizard, right? So now it is the Postman tool has been opened. I will share this Postman screen. Let it be open. It's taking time. A few minutes. I hope you can see the Postman, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. It's taking time. Okay. Okay, so I just copied over there, and here I will just change this user ID before, and here I need to put the authorization, and I'll say
We cannot see that screen. I cannot able to see the Postman screen. It says preparing your workspace.
what
Yes,
is it?
Ankur.
Okay. Okay. I hope you can see now.
Yes.
So what I have done, I have just pasted this particular endpoint, and at the end I have just used this for, right? And in this authorization tab, I have selected this basic authentication, and I have given the username and the password. Just try to send.
Ankur,
Yeah.
username and password is for what? Like, as you selected no security there, I think.
No,
Then
no.
why?
So I will tell you. I will tell you. Let it be, please. Okay. So here you see, corresponding to the user 4, I have selected the username, email address, name, phone number, website, and the zip code of this particular user. So if you enter different user over here, like 6, oh sorry, okay, for 6 user we have received this particular detail. Okay, now you are asking why we are giving username and the password. So this username is the password for that API which we have exposed, not for the API which we have called into the this API. So what we have done, we have created my wrapper into the intelligent cloud, which is calling that JSON placeholder API and just fetching the certain details from that particular API.
Like, if someone want to use our API, so he has to specify username and password. This one.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So basically, instead of calling this API, right, this JSON placeholder API, user will call my API only, right, not the JSON placeholder API, and for that they have to enter the password. Okay, because my API is a basic authentication enabled. It is understood now.
Yeah.
What happened? Screen sharing.
So where we have mentioned that we are using basic authentication
Okay, so
while
whenever you create,
creating the
good
integration.
question. So basically, whenever we are creating a connection as a trigger, right, it will only, so it will not ask anything, right? So OIC understand automatically that whenever you expose any REST API in the OIC, it will be authenticated by the basic authentication. You don't need to give anything. Every API you create in a OIC, it will be authenticated by the username and the password only.
And which username password?
The OIC username password from which you
So
have
I
logged
have to
in.
share my credentials with them.
No. So basically, whenever you provision the provision the Oracle instance, right? Not the OIC, right? And from there you create the OIC instance. For that OIC instance, there are a lot of roles which you can assign to the user. So what you will do, if you wanted to provide, if you want someone to call your API, you will not provide your credential. So what you will do, you will create a separate credential and you will assign a role which is called service user. So this service user role will only be used to call the services. Even the user, if user logged in from this particular account now, user will not be able to see anything, integration, connection, lookups, packages, agent, and nothing. I will show you at the in a further session also how you can create user and how you can assign roles to the user. You don't need to give your credentials. You have to create a separate credentials for them and assign a service user role so that the user can only invoke the REST API.
Okay.
Yeah. Any more questions, please?
For trigger, it's by default, it's having the basic authentication.
Yeah.
But when we are using as invoke, so it is the same for invoke or?
No, for invoke, vendor will tell you which type of authentication you need to give.
Okay. Since it is
Like,
developed by vendor, so he has to specify.
correct. So basically, if you have seen the SharePoint API, right, or like the Twitter API or the Facebook API, all they are OAuth enabled. So if you will call these APIs in a OIC, then you have to select the different policies and you have to provide client ID, client secret, something like this. Okay. Now let's move to the further the next adapter, which is called the SOAP adapter, right? And SOAP adapter is basically used to expose our SOAP APIs as well as to invoke the external SOAP APIs if you have. Okay. So in order to create a SOAP adapter, right? And if you wanted to expose a SOAP API in a OIC, you would be needing a WSDL file, which is called Web Service Description Language. So I already have one, what we say, WSDL file. Let me just open it in my Notepad++ and will show you.
Ankur, I have one question related to our previous example. The REST API we used is a parameterized. So when we are passing a parameter, we are getting only a single value.
Correct.
What if we have to receive a set of data?
Okay, great. So basically for that, you know, whenever we will cover the DB adapter, right, I will show you how you can fetch all the data from the DB at a time and how you will map it as an array. So that is called an array of a data.
Okay. So the same array concept we can use for the when we are working with the REST API.
Correct. So here, let me just so here you see the JSON placeholder API, right? If you don't pass anything, right, it will give you all the users in an array. Here you see this is a symbol of array, and you can use the same API in your integration cloud to fetch all the users. Okay. So Amit, this is the homework for you. You need to call this API and just try to consume the same in Oracle Integration Cloud. Can you do that?
I'll try, but first my homework is
Sorry.
I don't have an
Samik?
instance. I tried, but not able to, but not managed to create.
Oh, okay, got it.
The same for me, facing too many issues. I
Yeah,
think
Shubham, I understand.
Kal having an idea, I think, like he has created, I think. So Kal may can
Sorry?
help.
Sure. You mean creating the instance?
No, Kal, I have created an instance, okay, and
Oh.
I have raised an HR to the support team also, and they confirmed me that they are resuming the instance.
Mhm.
But after resuming the instance, after completion of 45%, it's got failed.
But your ticket, did they update your ticket or? I mean, what is it you need me to help you? I can help you definitely.
Okay, Kal, okay. So after the session, I can connect you.
Sure.
Okay, then sure.
So basically, Shubham, update SR and make sure your SR is on severity 1 so that it can, have more highlights. Otherwise,
Of
if
course,
you
the
will raise
severity one,
yours,
but the thing is that why is raising? They have two options. Like it will be solved on the business hour, or it will be like 24/7. So if
hmm,
we select 24/7, they are asking manager name, manager approval, and all this, all the things. And if you can skip that to the normal hour, so they can that they when you want to. So I have specified the normal hour. So that's why they are taking too much time. I think Saturday and Sunday probably they won't.
no, Shubham, hold on. So whenever you are checking 24/7, yes, you are correct. They will ask the manager name and all, right? So what you can do in the manager name also, you can provide your name.
Okay, that is also possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ankur,
Okay, okay.
share my experience, Ankur.
I also, whenever I raise RFC to the Oracle, I raise on the severity 1 and I give my name only as a manager name.
And
Ankur,
I was not aware.
Yeah.
Ankur, do you mind if I share my personal experience on creating this instance? Very quick, how it's done.
Yeah, please.
So this is not recently, even in the past last year I've been playing with OIC. So you have to prepare your case like that you are a individual freelance contractor, you have a customers, you put in your SR that you are trying to get the customer to buy OIC and you are trying to demo this and this is not working. You say that your demo to get the potential customer is blocking because of this. That gives a different weighting. Oracle thinks that you are bringing in a new customer, but the product is not helping you sell the product. So that way they look at it in a faster phase. I always put like that, hey, my customer
No.
is working on this, I have to demo this to my customers, but I am stuck. You have to help me to get the new customers. Then they will look at it differently.
Yeah, might be absolutely correct, Cal. But you are absolutely correct. It might be a case, but earlier there was not, a lot of policies over there. Like you need to enter the only company's ID and they will approve it from backend. Earlier, I
Yeah.
tried to create OIC instance multiple times. Whenever I create an instance from my Google or Gmail or the Yahoo ID, it was getting created, and OIC instance is also getting created frequently, right? And earlier there was not approving from the backend by raising an SR, but now they are restricting it, by using the company's email ID, and they are approving it as well.
No, I agree. Now they are stingy in the. I think this year at least I can see that from your text and all that. But I know that
Correct.
I have a website where you can create your personal domain email ID. It's just a wrapper around the free common UI email. Let's say, for example, that domain gives you the email ID you want, but internally that domain is the free email ID. Is just the dummy wrapper around the actual domain name. Let I've seen that while ago. I forgot what the URL. Let me search. Let me go my browse history. If I find it, I'll share it with you guys. So that way you can create like your own company name email, and you can do that way also. Let me try to figure that out.
Yeah, that's great, Cal.
Sure,
Thanks.
Sure.
Kal. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot, Kal.
Sure.
Okay, guys, I hope you can see my Notepad++, and here you can see the test.wisdal. So basically, I have created this wisdal, right, and which is having one element as an ID, as a request and the second is the name. So I will pass a ID as a request parameter, and then I will get name corresponding to that ID. So here you see the element is the request and the second element as a response, and here I have a name. Same way I have another element as a fold, and in under this I have error. So this is my XSD under this WSDL file, right? And in under the same WSDL I have the port type. And the port type is a employee service port, and here I have one operation as a request operation. And the input type is the employee service request, employee service port request, and where you see I have selected this request, this one, right? And same way in the output I have given this response, and this is the message type, and this message type is having the element as a response, which means the name. And here you see that in the employee service fault I have this fault element. So what I have done, I have created XSD which is having a different element as a request, response, and the fault. In the request I have ID element, in the response I have the name element, and in the fault I have the error element. So now I have created three messages. One is request message, the second is response message, and third is fault message. And this request message is having the part as a request, the response is having the response, and the fault is having the fault. Now I have created a port. So, and this port, employee service port, is having the operation as a request operation. A WSDL can have n number of operations, there is no restriction. And under that operation you have to give what type of input parameter you wanted to give, what type of output parameter you wanted to give, and whatever fault. So this is the plain WSDL which I am going to use while creating the SOAP connection. I will share this test.WSDL with you as well. So now just go back on Oracle Integration Cloud and we'll try to use this test.WSDL. So let's just click on a create button, and here I will search the SOAP adapter. Click on a SOAP and then select. Here same ways you have to give name, identifier, role, and then description. Here I will say SOAP connection v2. Since I wanted to expose a SOAP API, so I will select role as a trigger and then click on a create button. Once you click on a create button, it will ask the WSDL URL, or you can upload the WSDL file as well. Just click. So since I have the WSDL URL, WSDL file, click on this upload button and then choose file. From here I will choose the test.WSDL which I was showcasing you in the Notepad++, and then upload. So this suppress insertion of timestamp in the request, you can make it as it is, yes or no. This is just to suppress the timestamp. And under that security, you can take username password token or basic authentication, whatever. But yes, this SOAP works with the username and the password token. Even if you select anything else, right, like the no security policy and the basic authentication or oath, it will ask only the username and the password. So this is only relevant when you select role as an invoke. So even if you select this no security policy and you will try to call this SOAP API, it will ask the username and the password. So just select this username and password token and then save your connection. And now just test. And now here you see test or validate and test. If you click validate and test, it will validate the WSDL as well. And if you click on a test, it will just only test the connection. Just click on a test, and here you see the connection has been tested successfully and it has been reached to the 100%. Just save and then go back. Now here you see Your connection has been created successfully with the help of SOAP adapter. Now just go to the integration. Okay, so in a visual you have seen I have one ID request and name as a response. So here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a lookup. So lookup, I have already explained then what is lookup. Lookup is basically is just a configuration table which you can use to put the details which can be changed any point of time without affecting the integration. For example, if you wanted to maintain some username and the password which you need to give in your integration, and this username and the password can change at any point of time, then in that case you don't require to change the integration. If you have created a lookup and you have wrapped that lookup in an integration, then this value you can change at any point of time without affecting your integration. So let's see how we can do this. Now in order to create a lookup, just click on a create button and give the lookup name, and here you can give lookup name as employee lookup 2, and then click on a create button. So once you click on a create button, a pop-up wizard will come up where you see the domain name 1 and domain name 2. It is nothing, it is the column. So lookup is just like a table, and in the table you can have columns and you can have multiple rows. Layout table.
So it's like a DVM. So
Yes, absolutely correct. It is just like a DVM and so on. Yeah. Now you can change the column name by just clicking on this, and you can say edit domain name, and you can say ID and then OK. Same way you can replace this edit with domain name, and you can say employee name and then OK. Here you can enter the values. You can say 1 and you can say Amit. You can click on this plus button in order to create a new row. If you wanted to add more column, you can click on a plus button over here. Now just click on a plus button and you can say 2, and here you can say Cal. You can add one more. You can say 3. You can say Subham. Now just save. Okay, and then close it. So you can import the existing lookup. So lookup is nothing, it is a CSV file. Whenever you export this lookup, it will be exported as CSV file. You can import the same, and what you can do, you can just click on the section menu. You can clone the lookup, you can export to CSV, or you can delete the lookup. So just try to export to CSV, and here you see a .csv file has been downloaded. Just open this file. Just hold on. Okay, here it is. Okay, so whenever you export the lookup and you open as a CSV file, you will see the column DVM, and the second is the lookup name, and then in the next row you will see the columns, the ID and the employee name, and under that you will see the value which you have given. What you can do, you can update the things, and then you can update the values over there, and then save it and just try to import it back, and you see the values will be reflected over there. Okay, now just try to import the lookup. Okay, and then import. Once you import it, it will ask you to import and replace. Just do this, and you see the lookup has been imported, and here you see, just open this and it will show you 4 values, the 4 inside. Okay, now just go back, and here you will see it contains two domain, which means two columns, and how many values you have. It will show over there. Now just try to use this lookup in my SOAP API. Click on the integration, and just try to click a app driven orchestration pattern. Here I will say SOAP integration, and then click on a create button. As a trigger point, I will select my SOAP connection which we have created, SOAP connection v2, and here you can give the endpoint name. You can say get employee name, and then click on the next button, and here you will see on the next screen the port type which you have given in a visual file will be there, the operation, the request object, and the response object, and then port. Now just click on the next button, just click on the next simply, and then finish. Keep saving your integration, and now just edit this mapper. Now here you see the name over there. Now we have to, now what we want a name from the lookup based on that particular ID. So for that, you just expand this toggle function, and you search a function called lookup value. You can see under this integration cloud, you see the lookup value. Just drag and drop over there. Once you drag and drop, a pop-up will come up. This pop-up will allow you to select the lookup which you wanted to use. So I wanted to use this employee lookup, and then click on the next button. And from here, I will select source column as a ID and target column as a employee name. Why source ID? It is because I want to get employee name based on the ID. So ID will be treated as a where clause, and employee name will be the target. Now click on the next button. So here it will ask the default value. If you pass a value which is not found in the ID column, then what value you want to send? I will say employee ID not found, and then next, and then done button. Here you see multiple things like that lookup value function, and this lookup value function take 5 arguments. The first argument will be the lookup name. Second argument will be your source column which you have given as a ID, and here it will ask the source value, which source value you want to configure. So I will have this ID. Then actually this is the new option. How you can do this? Here you see this is the IT, and you can give as a source value. So here this ID will go into the ID column, and then it will fetch the employee name from the lookup, and then just test. Okay, and then validate, and then
In DBM lookup, any optionals are there or all are compulsory?
come again.
Like all the 5 parameters are compulsory, or any I think in OSB one is optional also, default value.
No, all are mandatory.
Okay.
So here you need to give the default value which will come once the data will not found in your lookup table. Then close it, Now save your integration and your SOAP API is ready. Now just try to enable the tracking and then ID and then this thing. Okay. Save and then close. Now your SOAP API is ready. Now just try to switch it on, activate, enable tracing and then include payload. Oh, we have not gone into the monitoring, so we will see this enable asserter recording. Okay, now this should be activated now. Just click refresh. Now this has been activated. Now just try to test. Okay, you cannot test from here the thing. You can just click on this visual URL and here you see the visual has been downloaded. Now just open a SOAP UI. So SOAP UI is another tool which will help you to test the REST API as well as the SOAP API. Let me just open the SOAP UI. Okay. Okay. So now I just copy the visual URL and then click on this SOAP and then here you need to give the visual name, visual URL actually, and then click on the OK button. Okay. Now click on this request one. Now here just actually this SOAP API will be authenticated by this basic authentication. Just click on this auth and then from there you just click add new authorization and then click basic and then OK. Now here you need to enter the username. The username is four. And from here you just try to enter the ID and you just need to click on the header section and you need to include this add WSS username token. Then OK. Okay, now here you see the username and the password has been appended into the header section. Now just hit you see the Amit corresponding to the 1. Just try to enter 3 and then run it again. You see the Shubham and I will try to give the 8 which is not found and here you will see employee not found, employee ID not found. Now just go back to the OIC screen and just try to modify your lookup without affecting your integration. Now here I will add another entry. I will say it was 9 only, right? 8. So I'll say 8 and I'll say Abdul and save. Lookup has been saved successfully. Go back Now here you see you have 5 values. Now just go to this SOAP UI and just try to test it again. You see the value has been reflected automatically once you change the lookup. So this is how you can use lookups. This is how you can expose SOAP APIs. Guys, any concern on this?
Ankur, so there's one question on the lookup. You said the lookup is password protected or something? Sorry, I missed that point.
No. I was saying that let's suppose sometimes what happens in some of the external REST API, you need to provide the static username and the password, right? And this username and the password can change environment to environment of the vendors. So sometimes vendor says I have 2 environments, one is dev and the second is production. For development, you have to use this username and the password, and for production, you have to use this username and the password. So instead of giving this username and the password in the integration itself, you can create a lookup where you need to maintain this username and the password. And once you migrate your code, you can directly change into the lookup without affecting the integration.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Any question? Okay. No question. Okay. So now let's jump to the FTP adapter today. Now guys, sometimes what happens, you have one FTP servers from where you need to read some file, where you need to put some files. So FTP adapter is heavily used wherever the vendor don't have any communication mechanism like the REST API, SOAP API or the database. They say, hey, I have the FTP location, and if you want to send some data, you just use my FTP location and then put the data over there. So for that scenarios, you can use FTP adapters. So whether your FTP on the public side or on the on the firewall, you can connect any one of the FTP server which are accessible over the internet, FTP servers which are accessible behind the firewall. You can access both the FTPs using the FTP adapter. But in the past releases of this FTP adapter was only used to connect to the FTP server which was accessible over the internet. But in the new release, they have allowed FTP adapter to connect those FTPs which are accessible behind the firewall with the help of agent. Let's just try to create a FTP. So in order to create a FTP connection, you should have the SFTP in place, and for that you should have one Linux box, and you should have the host name, port, username, and the password for that. Guys, if you don't have any VM, any SSH or any SFTP, what you can do, I will show you. You can create a VM from the Oracle on itself. How you can do this? Let me just open my IDCS. Not IDCS actually. I will show you how you can create a VM so that you can try to use both things. Just click on sign into cloud. Okay. If you don't have an SFTP server, you can create a VM on the cloud and you can use the same as a SFTP. I will show you how you can do this. Okay, from here, just on this hamburg menu, click on the compute and click on the instances. Now from here, you can click on a create instance button. Once you click on a create instance button, it will allow you to enter some details. the instance name, and then you can choose the operating system, and from here you have to enter the SSH keys and then just click on a create button. Once it will be created successfully, it will give you a public IP. So using that public IP, you can try to connect to that particular VM via the FTP adapter. SSH keys, and it will take the public key which can be generated from the PuttyGen. So this is how you can create a VM. Guys, any question? I hope you will be able to create a VM using this Oracle Cloud if you don't have an SFTP. Okay. Now here, once a VM will be created, it will be visible over here. If you click on this, here you will be able to see the public IP of this. This is the public IP, and using this you can connect to the SFTP, and you can use the WinSCP in order to connect to this particular VM. Now I have another VM which I will try to connect with the help of FTP adapter. Now just go back to Oracle Integration Cloud and search the FTP adapter. Click on a create button, and from here you will see the FTP adapter. Just click on this FTP and then select. Once you select it, again you have to give the credentials over here, like the create connection. I'll say FTP con v2, and here you can select role, trigger, and the invoke. Guys, actually this FTP only used as an invoke, not as a trigger, which means if you want to pull a file from the FTP location, you cannot do that. In order to pull the files, you have to create a schedule integration and use FTP adapter as an invoke only, order to get the files. So whether you use trigger and invoke role, it will be same as the invoke itself. Now just click on a create button. Once you click on a create button, here you need to enter the certain details of your FTP, like the host, like the port. So host address, I have host address like just take it from here. This is my host name. Go back, and here I will add the IP address, and the port is 22, and SFTP connection, yes, this is my SFTP, hence I will select yes. Host key, if you have any host key of the FTP, you have to upload it. If you have SSL certificate, you have to upload it. Optionally, you can provide the FTP server OS if you need. You can provide a channel mask like control, data, both, and none. Totally depends on the FTP vendor. They will provide you all these details. If you have key action algorithm, you can use any one of them. It will be provided by the FTP vendor, and then same ways you have to select the FTP server time zone. But all these are optional. Okay, so the important thing is the FTP server host and the FTP server port. Here, understand the security part. So if you just click on this drop down, and here you see there are 3 policies which you can use in order to connect to the SFTP, like the FTP server access policy, FTP public key authentication policy, and FTP multi-level authentication. So if you click on this, here it will ask you the username and the password and certain details like SSL certificate password, PG public key, and these options are common in each and every policy. Only the username and the password will get changed. Just like this FTP public key authentication, here you will see username and the private key file. If you select this FTP multi-level authentication, it will ask the first authentication like password or public key, and then username and the password and the private key. So totally depends on the FTP provider which type of authentication policy they use in order to connect to the FTP. So my FTP connection is using FTP public key authentication. If you create a VM from that Oracle instance, then then only you will be able to use this FTP public authentication. It is because you need to provide the SSH key. Here you have to use the username. My username is a OPC, and you have to use the private key file. So whenever you create a VM from there, you need to create a public private key pair. The public will be uploaded while creating that instance, and the private key will be used in order to authenticate the FTP server. So here I will use this private key file. I will upload this. I already have this one. Just hold on. Let me just upload it.
So that private and public, that has to be created by Putty, I think.
You can create it from PuttyGen.
Like choosing SSH key in all, like VMware also we have to, that has to be done with the help of Putty, that SSH key.
Come again, please.
In the while creating virtual VM machine, we have got an option to choose SSH key, no? Which you had explained earlier.
Here you
So that has
see,
to
I will show you.
So that has to be
So
created
here
by
you have to create the file. You have to create the public and private key pair from the PuttyGen, and then here you have to paste the public key. I hope you got my point.
yeah.
Okay, and then while creating the FTP connection, you have to upload the corresponding private key.
Okay.
So here I have uploaded the private key, and then click on the upload button. And here, if you have password of this private key, you need to enter the password. I will have password. So I have entered the password over here. And the next options like the PG public key. So basically, whenever you are dealing with the files, you need to encrypt or decrypt the file. Sometimes you need to read the files which are encrypted via the PGP. PGP is nothing, it is the policy, and PGP stands for pretty good privacy. It is one of the policy which allow you to encrypt and decrypt the file. So OIC allow you to encrypt or decrypt the file with the help of PGP policy. So if you wanted to create a encrypted file, you have to upload the public key. If you want to decrypt the file, you have to upload the PGP private key along with the PG private key password. Okay, the PGP public key, you have to upload the PGP public key, and then you have to select the ASCII armor encryption format, and you have to select the cipher algorithm. Now the PG private key, if you want to decrypt the file, you have to select this PG, you have to upload the private key of the PGP. The next options like the PGP signing public key and the PGP sign private key. If you see the PG public key is used for verification of signed message payload, sometime what happens, your file, the file which you are trying to pick it up, it is digitally signed, and if you want to verify that file, or if you want to verify the payload, you have to upload the PGP sign public key, and the vice versa, the PGP sign private key. PGP private key is used for signing the message payload. If you want to digitally sign your FTP file, then you have to upload the private key, the PGP sign private key. But if you want to verify the file, you have to upload the PGP sign public key. So this is how you can configure this option. So I was explaining that now you can connect to the FTP which is behind the firewall. So if you wanted to connect to the FTPs which are behind the firewall, you have to install that agent on that FTP server, and then you can configure the agent. This is how you will be able to connect to the FTP. Now just save your configuration and then test. Now just click on a test button. Here you see my connection has been tested successfully. Now just save it and then go back. Guys, any questions on the FTP adapter, please? Anyone, any question?
This is the read operation, or like what operation we are doing?
No. So what we have done, we have only created the connection. We have not used it. When we will use it, then it will allow me to select the operation, whether it is a read or write, delete, list, move. I will show you. So now you have only created the connection with the FTP. Now this connection can be used in n number of integration for n number of operation. Okay. Now just click create an integration which will create a CSV file on your FTP location on some particular directory. Just click on a create button, and here I will select the basic routing. So what I will do, I will expose one REST API which will take the payload, that is on payload, and we will try to create a CSV file around this. Select this basic routing pattern.
Yeah, Ankur, so you were, I remember there is another orchestration called file transfer orchestration. That is not the right use case for this.
So basically file transfer is again a schedule type of integration. So if you want to create a schedule integration based on the file, then you use this file integration pattern.
Okay.
Yeah. Here you can say create CSV file. Okay. And then click on a create button. Here you see the canvas is different, and here you notice one more thing. You only see the connections, nothing more than that. You cannot see any activities like the mapper activities, logger activities. All these activity you can see in a app driven orchestration or the schedule based based integration. So here you just see the trigger and then invoke. So just try to drop the connection, just search the connection over here. I will select this REST connection and will drop it over here. Now I will see get send EMP data and then click on the next button. On the next button, I will say create EMP and I will say you can give any resource URI as a EMP, and it will be treated as a post because you are trying to post the data somewhere. So I will select configure a request payload for this endpoint and will say configure this endpoint to receive the response and click on the next button. So here you see the request. You need to give the JSON sample. You can give the XML schema also. So just try to give XML schema. Let me just try to prepare XML schema for you. And I will say, okay, I need to give XML schema. You can upload a XML sample as well. Okay, so here I will say employees. Okay, and I will say IT. Okay, I will say name. I will say age. Okay, and I will say another thing. Qualification. and I will take this as a employee. Okay. Okay, and that's it. I will save it as XML file. Okay. Now just try to upload it over here. Okay. Now here you see I have uploaded this XML file, and then next. Oh, I will not take the response. Actually, I will just disable this response for the time being, and then this next, and then done. Now here I will select the FTP adapter which we have created. I'll say FTP connection which we have created, and then drop it over here. Here I'll say create file, and then here you see, do you want to specify the structure for the contents of the file, which means would you like to create a specific format file, which means if you want to create a CSV file, and do you have any structure like you want to push ID, name, age and qualification. If you don't have any structure, if you want to send any type of file like PDF, like document, like XML, and then you can select no. But yes, I wanted to create a structured file, so I will select this yes option, and from there you can select whatever file you want to create. Do you want to create a CSV file? Then select the sample delimited document file. If you want to create a XML file, you have to select this XML document. If you want to create a JSON document, you have to select this JSON document. But I wanted to create a CSV file, so I will select this one. And the next option, you see, do you want to enable PGP security, which means would you like to create a CSV file in an encrypted format? If yes, then you have to select that yes. But for that, you have to upload the public key. But yes, I don't have as of now, so I will select this no, and then next. In the next screen, you have to specify the output directory where the file will go. So here I will say home/opc put, and I will say file name will be my temp.emp.csv. And the next option, append to existing file. Append to existing file option will allow you to append the data into the file if the file name already exists. So I will skip this and then click on the next button. On the next screen, you have to select the delimited file in which format you want to create the file. So let me just select from my laptop. Let me just see where it is. Okay, so let me just choose a file. I have this sample file. Here you see I have the sample file, and in that sample file I have ID, I have name, qualification and age. So this is my sample file. You see the ID, name, qualification and age, and here I have sample entry.
I think you're not sharing that screen. We are seeing blank.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you see now?
Yes.
So here what I'm saying is I have one sample file which is having the headers like ID, name, qualification and age, and I have some sample entries. Okay, and then I have selected the same file, and once you select this file, this table will be populated with the entries which you have in your sample file. like the ID, like the name, qualification, and then age. And here it will show you the selected file name as also. So here you see the record name, and here you have to select the record name. So record name will become the child element of your file. I'll say employee, and the record set name will become the parent element. I will show you in the mappings. So this is, oh sorry. So this is your parent element and this is your child element. So the next option, the select the field delimiter file. If you wanted to create a comma separated file, you can select the comma. If you wanted to create a semicolon separated file, you can select the semicolon. But if you want to create a semicolon file, you have to select the sample CSV file with the semicolon separated. Same way as the tab and same way as the pipeline. So I wanted to create a comma separate, so I will select this comma. Character set, whatever character set you want to use, you can select the one, and optionally enclosed by. So this option is used whenever you are trying to read the file. So I will not use this option. I will let you know when to use this. Okay, now they use first row as a column headers and mark all as optional. So basically this option is basically used whenever you are trying to read the file. I will, okay. So basically, let's suppose you have one CSV file where the first row is a value itself, not the headers, and you want to you wanted to read the first row as a value row. Then you can deselect this option, and then during runtime, the first row will be treated as a value. If you select this option, and what will happen during the runtime, the first row will be skipped and it will not be read by the OIC. Okay, and this option mark all as optional. If you think while creating the file, some of the field might be missing from the REST API. Let's suppose I'll say name might be optional, so might the name may come or not. So you can choose this optional, or you can select all the field as a optional, but one of the column you have to make a mandatory. So I'll just deselect this, or I'm not able to select this. Actually, there might be some issue with the browser. That's the reason I'm not able to select this. But mark all as a optional if you want to create all the field as a optional. And now click on the next button. And then on summary page, it will show the summary. Now finish. Now just click on this particular, just save your integration. And now just edit the mapper. Just plus. Now in the mapper, you see these will come from my REST API, ID, name, and age and qualification. And these are my, you see the employees we have given as a record set name. This has become the parent node and this will become the child node. So now here you notice one thing. So notice this element and notice this element, and what is the difference? So here you see this employee element and here you see the multiple boxes. Same ways in this employee you see the multiple boxes, which means these elements are the array type. Amit, you have asked the questions, how we can read the array type, right? So what you can do, you can just click on this and then map this, and here this will become the for each. What will happen during during runtime, all the this employee and this employee. So here what we have done, we have just doing the for looping over the array element, right? And then ID to ID. What happened? What happened? Why it is not allowing me? Oh, looks like we have not entered a value in this file, is it? Just a minute.
Ankur, it's showing something simple or complex like
Yeah, I don't know why. Let me just try to edit this. Looks like I have not given simple. Encountered an error. What was the error? What is the error in this file? I don't see any error. The schema person count. Oh, sorry. This will be this XML schema. Oh. Let's wait. Looks like the system is in hang mode. Oops. Okay, before the system resumes, guys, what time we are meeting tomorrow? The same time work for you? Amit?
8:30.
Yeah.
No, Ankur.
What time then?
Then means a little bit late. 9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, is this okay for you? Shubham, Cal, Sai?
Yeah, I'm okay, Ankur. Like 9:30 of India time, right? That's
Yeah. Shubham,
yeah, Ankur, okay, fine.
Sai, what about you? Sai?
just to be clarified, 9:30 p.m. of India time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like the system in hang mode now. Just try closing this. Okay, so I hope let's resume tomorrow, right? With the same integration. Looks like the system is in hang mode. I don't know what time it will recover. Is this okay, guys? We can continue tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, then
Yeah,
I will
Ankur.
share the recording with you. Yeah, and we'll continue tomorrow 9:30 p.m. IST.
Sure.
Okay, guys, then thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a good day.
Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.